You absolutely can eat the foods that you enjoy, drink beers on the weekend, and get in incredible shape. But most people completely misunderstand how to do it. Because flexible dieting only works when the structure comes first, and if you ignore that part, well, you're just going to end up losing and gaining the same 5 kilos all year round once again. So in this video, I'm going to break down the trade-offs that you have to make if you want to get in shit hot shape without swerving your social life. The first thing you need to understand is this: you absolutely cannot wing it on the weekends. The fact is, you can't spend 6 days eating chicken wraps and protein yogurts only to get to Saturday, have a massive big brunch, drink 14 pints, smash a Domino's, and still think that you might be in a deficit. Because trust me, a Saturday full of beers, takeaways, and fuck it decisions can absolutely wipe out the deficit that you've built up across the week. And honestly, that's where most people have been fucking up with fat loss this entire time. So if you want to enjoy your social life and still lose fat, please understand this: you need structure all week, not just Monday to Friday. Because that structure is what creates the freedom to enjoy the fun stuff without screwing up your progress across the week. And that leads me nicely into the first thing we need to look at, which is your weekly calorie management. Now, most people only know to obsess over daily calories, but here's what you need to realize: you cannot lose fat in a single day. Fat loss is driven by the calorie deficit that you build up across several days and weeks. So for that reason, I need you to stop looking at your daily calorie intake. I need you to focus on what you're doing across the entire week. Now, yes, I still give my clients daily calorie targets because the consistency matters, but it's the weekly structure that gives us the flexibility. For example, if I know that a client has a meal out or is going out for drinks, we'll deliberately pull calories from earlier parts in the week to add on to the weekend. So instead of trying to survive social events on low calories, we actually create a higher calorie day by pulling calories from elsewhere. Now here's the cool thing: the weekly calories actually stay the same, but the difference is now is that we're able to accommodate the social stuff much easier. And just to be clear, flexible dieting does not mean surviving off takeaways and fast food while calling it balance. The reason this works is because the foundation is built around protein-heavy foods, nutrient-dense meals, calorie control, and good overall structure. At least this way, the fun stuff just gets added on top. And it's exactly this method that helped my client Joe lose over 30 kilos while terrorizing pretty much 90% of Nottinghamshire's bakeries. My guy Joe is a bit of a foodie. He loves the pastries, he loves the pizza, the fancy coffees, the date nights, all of it. But because we've been managing his weekly calories over that time frame, he's been able to lose a shit ton of fat without living like a bodybuilder. The next trade-off is that you need to plan ahead for restaurant meals. And that's because, shock horror, beers and burgers cost calories. In fact, a shit ton of them. And if you want to fit these foods into your diet without blowing your calories to pieces, you have to learn to make decisions based on logic, not emotion. Because if you wait until you're starving and sat in the restaurant, you're going to make decisions based on impulse rather than logic. So if you know that you're eating out ahead of time, check the menu in advance and find what you actually want to eat. And then you're going to pre-log it in MyFitnessPal, and then we're going to focus on building your diet around it. Right now, I'm in a bit of a tidy up phase ahead of summer, and a few weeks ago, I had a family celebration to attend. It actually landed on one of my lower calorie days, but because I planned ahead during the week, it meant that I could still go and enjoy the celebration without going off track. As you can see here, I pre-logged a steak and chips first, and then I built the rest of my day around it using high protein meals, nutrient dense meals, and stuff that was going to keep me full throughout the day. So by the time I actually got to the meal, I wasn't starving, I was actually able to enjoy a nice meal. I was able to actually have a beer on top of that as well. I stayed within my calories and ended up making progress that week. It's a win-win situation. And that, my friends, is what realistic fat loss should look like. Now, here's the bit that nobody wants to hear. You probably can't have 4 or 5 big social events every week and expect to lose fat rapidly. Because most social occasions involve calorie-dense foods, desserts, drinks, you name it. And although weekly calorie management does definitely help in this situation, if you're not careful, you're going to dig a massive hole that you cannot get out of. The easiest way to think about this is like a money budget. Imagine you got to payday and you spent your entire wages within a few days on fancy cocktails, shitloads of Amazon purchase, and you just went absolutely to town at Zara one time at the weekend. Well, you're going to be broke by Thursday, right? Well, your weekly calories work in exactly the same way. The majority of your calories need to be used on stuff that's going to keep you full and energized to power you throughout the week. So you need to be prioritizing the protein-dense foods, the nutrient-dense foods, and the foods that are high in volume that are going to keep you full all the way throughout. That's the real stuff that helps you to lose fat successfully. So it has to be the priority. Now, yes, you can allocate some of those calories towards the beers, the burgers, and everything else. But the more calories you throw towards the fun stuff, the less you're actually leaving for stuff that's going to help you to manage your energy levels, manage your hunger, and manage your recovery. And that's normally where most people start feeling tired, hungry, unmotivated, and more likely to make daft decisions that are going to fuck up their fat loss progress. So the golden rule here is simple. Prioritize the health stuff first, leave a little bit of room for the fun stuff. If you follow that, there's no doubt about it, you're going to lose a shit ton of fat. And here's the final trade-off you need to accept if you want to lose fat without completely isolating yourself socially. You are going to have to say no occasionally. Because although this video is about diet flexibility, this does not mean that every single social occasion that comes up is automatically a good idea. Because the awful reality is, when calories do get low, you have to be very selective with what you do with those calories. As much as I wish this was a different case, you won't be able to say yes to multiple pastries, eating out twice a week, random pub trips, and still somehow expect to lose a ton of fat rapidly. At some point, something does have to give. And unfortunately, fat loss does just get easier when you learn to say no to more stuff. But here's how I want you to look at it. Sometimes saying no to one thing means that you can say yes to the important stuff. And to help me make my point, I want to introduce you to my client Steph. Steph had to say no to a bunch of different stuff. Brunches, cinema snacks, even random pastries on coffee catch-ups. But that also allowed her to say yes to date nights, to family meals out, to Chinese takeaways for celebrations, and crucially never missing out on a big social plan that meant something to her. And because of that nice little trade-off in place, she's lost well over 25 kilos. So no, flexible dieting isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about being flexible when it actually matters. And there we have it, ladies and gents. If you are willing to make those trade-offs, then yes, you absolutely can eat or drink whatever you want and go on to lose a shit ton of fat. Just like Joe and Steph did, and then all the other clients that you see on the screen right now. Now look, having that knowledge is one thing, but we all know implementation is another matter entirely. And I don't want you to absorb all this information on my channel and then not do anything with it. So why don't I give you a hand by offering a 4-week experience of the Barbell and Beers program completely for free. It's pretty simple. It's a done with you process that's designed to give you all the knowledge and experience I've gained from coaching hundreds of people over the years to blast the body fat without giving up the beers and burgers, broken down into 4 simple steps across 4 weeks. There's literally no catch whatsoever. It's literally a bite-sized version of my one-to-one coaching to show you how to implement all the stuff that I've been teaching on this channel. So if you're keen to try that, and again, might I add, it is literally for free, then all you got to do is hit the link in my description and let's get cracking. And after you've done that, well, I guess I'll see you in the next video.